You are action-oriented beings. Get over it. You cannot create through action enough to satisfy you. You know too much. It should be on the form you sign. I know that if I enter into this space and I hear this stuff, that I will create bigger dreams than I can do with action, and my whole life's going to have to change. I'm going to have to be a creator through thought rather than a creator through action. But we're not trying to get you to stop acting. We just want you to use inspired action rather than action to try to fix things.
And I feel, since I have been learning more and more from you, that I am every day,
and from life. We give you the basics, and then life confirms it to you. Yeah. Affirms it to you.
And I know that I'm doing a better job of attracting things.
For sure.
And so I feel like I know enough to be dangerous in that I know when I'm starting to slip into.
Yeah, because you got your vortex all full and you got the pipeline all filled up, and then sometimes more things are popping than you can deal with. Someday we'll have a seminar. We'll have it right here. This is such a lovely place. And we'll call it How to De-Manifest.
And I know when my thoughts are starting to slip away, and then I say, no, that thought, let's think about blue bottles and butterflies and feathers.
Let's say this in a better way now, rather than saying, no, I don't want to think about that thought. Instead, just ask yourself the question really often, hundreds of times in every day if you can. How satisfying is this? How satisfying is it? Is this a satisfying thought? You said something really key. You said, I'm getting good when I start to. And that's the key. When you start to, when you are first aware of a feeling of dissatisfaction, that's the time to become alert. In the first inkling of dissatisfaction, because you all, we love you so much, you've trained yourself to suck it up and be tough and pay the price and sacrifice, and others around you reward you for your sacrifice. They actually encourage you to suffer. If you get all tuned in, tapped in, turned on, and you offer a service or something to someone because it's easy to you and it felt really good, many people around you won't think it amounts to very much because you didn't suffer enough. They want your gift to them to be proven to them by the suffering that you have, because people are kind of mixed up about how that all works. But it's not how the universe works. Suffering is not the key to anything that's good. And of course, you're way past all of that, but got onto that train of thought and wanted to clean that up right there. So now what?
I get great dissatisfaction when I have to think about dealing with the piles of paperwork.
All right, so you don't have to think about the barbecue contraption. You don't have to think about...
now you added another thing.
You don't have to think about the piles of paperwork and make that thought satisfying. You just have to think about something that is satisfying. And the piles of paperwork will take care of themselves. That really is what we're talking about. You just have to find something that's satisfying. And we know for sure there's a whole bunch of really satisfying things that would be easy for you to focus on. But there's something in you and in almost everybody else that makes you think that you've got to make that different than it is, when all you got to do is focus upon something that makes you feel good. See, Esther has a choice. She could not do the Swiss cheese process. She could delegate every single action thing that she does in the whole world to someone else. So why would she do anything? Because that's where satisfaction is. You have more satisfaction when you're flowing towards something than when you're just sitting with nothing to focus upon. Life comes to you. Eat it up, chew it up, enjoy it, let it evolve. When you find ways to let the detailed aspects of your life please you, you've got it made. But if you're sitting around and you just got a handful of things that need to manifest before you feel good, you don't have it made. You're in deep doo-doo. Because first of all, those things can't come until the smaller things have come. And life isn't about the big things. Life is about the small things that are coming in every moment of every day. Yes? Do you feel moved at all? Do you feel moved? Are you all worried about her big piles of paper? You can see them though. Esther had a friend long time ago, and Hurricane Camille took their house away. And he said, first time we've ever been caught up on the paperwork. He also said it didn't matter anyway. It didn't matter anyway.
The emotional attachment to the papers or to certain memories that I just want to release. I feel like that's what's holding me in that space of not.
There are two ways to approach this. One is, as we said, distract yourself. And the other way is to find some more pleasing way to do it. In the Ask and It Is Given book, there's a process that was written by us for exactly this purpose. And it's called Clearing Clutter for Clarity, which is sort of what you're looking for. And our encouragement was to go to the office supply store and buy a bunch of baker's boxes. Most people start with about 20. And set them in a room and stand in some room that is particularly problem to you. And then approach the boxes and say to yourself as you pick up each piece of something, is this something essential to my experience or not? And if it's not something that you are going to need in the next week or two, then decide that you're going to put it in one of these boxes that you have spread out. Now, here's the key to making this work. The idea is not to do the sorting, because that's how you get bogged down and never get anywhere. Your idea is to clear it. But the reason you don't clear it is because you don't want to lose track of it. And you've done that before, where you open a drawer, you open a room, and you shove things in, and then you can't find them. And so don't want to do that anymore. You want to be able to get your hands on the things that matter. And so you put things in a box. Esther said, red bikini, haven't worn it in 25 years. Box number 1. When you put it in the box, make a note of it into a recorder. Esther wrote a computer program for herself where she writes box number 1 and she just puts what's in it, and the program will sort. But a wheeled X or a 3x5 card would be just as well. But to make it go fast, speak it into a recorder while you're doing it. So pile of magazines, looks like most of them are about decorating ideas. You could even speak this into the recorder. Box number 2. Then as you're looking around, anything else that's sort of kind of like that, put that in box number 2 too, and write it down. And in a very short period of time, shorter than you have ever seen in your experience, you will clear that room of clutter. And every single piece of it will be known by you or known by this recorder about where it is. Now, you might want to, maybe while you're watching television or maybe while you're in bed looking for something pleasant to do, that might be when you listen and just write it down. Write the box number and write what it is. Alphabetize it in some way that you can find it. And so now, before you know it, you could do everything in your life in a few hours a day in less than a week. Then what you've got a stack of boxes, maybe along one wall in one room, or maybe along a garage wall somewhere, where everything that matters to you, you know it's right there. So you're not worried about finding it again because you know it's right there. And the recorder or the wheeled X or the computer program knows right where it is. Esther was amazed at how infrequently she ever looks for anything in any of those boxes. She never really needed most of it anyway. But she just felt like she wanted to know where it was in case she needed it.
So the emotional aspect of it is more when I'm reaching for assistance.
Tell us more.
The emotional tie, not just to paperwork, but the same way that there's excess paperwork on my desk, I feel like it's that way with memories and thoughts in my head.
So all of this time that we haven't even been talking about anything that's physical, you just gave us crap examples?
No, those are for real.
All right. As you solve some of that, the clutter that's in your mind will dissipate. That's why the process says clearing clutter for clarity.
So
the process.
So the one is going to help the other.
Clearing clutter will help clarity, because in winning that battle, the other battle will cease to exist as well. But we want to be very clear about something here. There are easier ways to do everything than through action. And that is, when you meditate and quiet your mind, your vibration rises, and that stuff's just not bothering you for a while. And next time it bothers you, then find a way of meditating, and you can go about this in whatever way that you want to. Esther likes her stuff. She likes to know where stuff is just in case she needs it. It's got an airplane hanger, no airplane in it, but there are lots of shelves and lots of boxes, and she knows what's in every one of those boxes, or knows that she could know what's in every one of those boxes. And even though she never needs anything in every one of those boxes, somehow is satisfying to know what's in every one of those boxes. And we would like you and her to acknowledge that you've got an inner being that knows what's in every one of those boxes, and will show you anything that's important to you. We're not talking about the literal piece of paper. We're talking about the path of least resistance to everything that you want. This is what this subject has been about the whole time, and we are appreciating having this conversation with you because everybody's relating to it in some way. Your inner being absolutely, unequivocally knows where you stand in terms of what you have so far realized into manifestation. Your inner being knows where you stand in relationship to everything that you want, and knows what your path of least resistance is to it. So we could have 1,000 conversations on 1,000 different ways that you could feel 1,000 times better on 1,000 different subjects. In other words, we could go on and on and on and on and on. In fact, we have, about all of those subjects. Or we could convince you through endless antics that when you're in the receiving mode, you always know what to do. You feel good, first of all. You have clarity. Isn't it interesting? What you want is clarity, and meditation will give you clarity, but you feel like you need to do all of these other things, and we've supported you in many of them in order to get to clarity, when really all you got to do is meditate to get clarity. And so what you should say, and what Esther should say, is, really, Abraham, you gave me a process that caused me to organize myself. Do you know how many boxes Esther has in her hanger? She's in the 500s. She's in the 500s. She's been carrying stuff around her whole life. She's in the 500s of her boxes. You mean to tell me, Abraham, that I didn't have to sort 500 boxes? All I needed to do was meditate? Yep.